Seems like there's been trouble in paradise lately. Brittany had the baby, and then suddenly the two are both deleting pictures of each other off of their social media. And now PJ seems to have sent Brittany a very...
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. We are talking to you guys today about, well, quite frankly, Brittany Renner and PJ. We had a recent incident where Brittany dumped seemingly PJ, and they've gone their separate ways after having a child. And we want to discuss some deeper truths. This is part one. Okay, now what I want to discuss in this video here, I want to give you a different breakdown to what everyone else has given you. Everyone else is talking about how bad this girl is and da-da-da. And I can agree, right? Because I think there's some predatory vibes, right? She was 27, 28, 29, dating a 22-year-old, but I think they started dating when he was 19. She went to a Kentucky game, which is a college basketball NCAA game. That seems like you're hunting for a young man. So you kind of chose a very young man, knowing he's going to be a little bit naivete, and you've kind of like got him to do what other men couldn't do, which is Colin Kaepernick, Ben Simmons, and there's a few hosts of men who she wrote in her book who didn't give her that level, or give her a child in a sense. And so this young man has now done what others didn't do, didn't heed the warnings, it seems, and gave her a child, and now have a baby by me, baby. Who the hell cares? You can be a millionaire, has now literally been implemented here. So I want to look at it from a different perspective. This is part one. We'll do a part two where we can deal with it more in terms of their relationship. I want to deal specifically with Brittany Renner. I think this video can help a lot of women, and a lot of men too. Women in terms of not becoming Brittany Renner, and men to avoid Brittany Renners when you're in your prime. I think it's very, very important. We're going to discuss some real stuff. So before we go anywhere, if you're new to the channel, like it, share, subscribe, click down below on the bell button for notification of what? The uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you got the minerals. You got the minerals. Listen, do me a favor, okay? Do me a favor, listen, grab your t-shirts down below, get on the merchandise, grab your bottles, stay hydrated, okay, because it's summer, you know what I'm saying? The streets, look at this, the streets are hot, okay? Let's get into the video, and let's hit a little outro, baby.
Little Blackbird, you know what time it is.
Yes, so we are obviously discussing, the issues with, Brittany Renner, and she did a video which I think is really, really important to tap into, right? Because I think what she discussed was pertinent. I think that's a word. Anyway, it's important because it shows her mindset and where she's coming from. And this is why I decided to do this part one and do a part two, because oftentimes what happens is whenever we talk about these subjects, we don't have the deeper mind of what the person's thinking. And if you guys know as well, I do coaching as well. So if you want to get involved in that, you want to get some relationship coaching, listen, shout at me, we'll do that as well. But when I'm doing coaching, what we are looking for, we're looking for the story, we're looking for the backlog, we're looking for what happened in your past, we're looking for the information that's going to help us be able to build a picture as to who you are. So what she did a video some months back, or I think last year, and it was so key because what she discussed in it was all about the mindset and where her mindset came from. And I think it was a critical conversation to have. So let's get into that video. And let me put this on here for you guys to see. Okay.
You better believe it, honey. My biggest fear, stepping into my femininity. A little more complex than it sounds. And it's a little problematic when the things that I want require me to step into my femininity.
I want to pause it there straight away. She makes a comment of saying, it's a problem when the things that I want, I have to step into my femininity. Now, if she's not stepping into her femininity to get what she wants, it means that she's operating majority in the masculinity. And whenever I'm dealing with clients, for instance, when I'm talking about coaching and trying to get them to understand why they are the way they are, especially when I'm talking to women, I talk about this masculine and feminine energy, because you want to be able to be in your divine feminine, right? Your receptive energy, your ability to be able to be creative, to be emotional, to be able to be nurturing, right? You want to have all those aspects and not have so much masculine energy where you're protective, you're providing, you're serving, you're leading, and having to do all those things in a relationship form. You don't want to do that. You get tired. Right, because I don't know if you ever played sports before. When you have to use ultra aggression, it tires you out quicker than you just being naturally. Let's say you want to be strong, right? Strong and aggressive on a sports field is completely different. When you become aggressive, you start to use the anger and the frustration and the tension that you have, and you begin to exert it onto the field, right? Some people have got more natural aggression when they're playing, but when you decide you're going to go into aggression, you realize you start to use more energy. And what women are doing in this common day and age now is using more force and more energy by operating in the masculine energy. And I'm not saying women shouldn't use any masculine energy, but a lot of the times when they're using masculine energy, it's at the wrong time. In a relationship, you want to be able to operate in your feminine energy as much as possible, except when you're trying to establish things like boundaries, when you're, and I think relationships have these different swings where you may have to lead on something. That's a time and that's a season, right? But you want to be able to operate more in your feminine energy. And she's spoken quite clearly here, saying, I don't like going into my feminine energy. Why? That's vulnerability. And actually, I've said this about men too. Men who don't know how to access their femininity are also toxic themselves. You'll see it. Those who are not acquainted with emotions, who do not know how to access them, who do not know how to use their emotions at the right time, will become toxic, violent, aggressive, and become people who hurt people physically and emotionally, because the frustration is not being able to handle their overwhelming sense of emotions or be able to curb some of the emotions they're feeling. Men are not devoid of emotions. They just need to be aware of it so that it doesn't use them and they're using their emotions. All right. Things like anger is an emotion, but how do you utilize it? Does it utilize you, or do you utilize anger? The Bible says, be angry, but sin not. And I break this down by saying this is emotion versus feelings. The Bible says it's fine to have the emotion of anger, but the feeling that you're going to get after, that's what you need to be careful of. Don't start doing the act, because the act comes from the feeling. The emotion that you feel is fine. Be angry. Sin not. The action that comes after will be the sin. And many men and women who are acting in, let's say, the anger or frustration or hurt, okay, they access the feeling. The feeling is the experiences, prior knowledge, understanding, wisdom that comes into that moment that you begin to feel. All right, when I slap you, your natural reaction may be anger, but how do you feel? You feel disrespected in that moment. Now, why do you feel disrespected? Because in the past, someone else has done the same thing to you, and you're not going to have it this time. Nah, I'm not having it this time. But now how you react is based on your feeling, not the emotion. And when you act out of the feeling, oftentimes we get problematic actions. But let's go on.
Femininity. Hope I can say that right the whole video. Why am I afraid to step into my femininity? I don't want to let go of the illusion of control.
Beautiful. Now, I love this whole video, and I'll tell you why I love this whole video. I'm not giving her a pass. She's going to get smoked. It's that simple. Part 2 will smoke her. But I love this video because here we can do something with. When we know the mindset of people, we can begin to understand them. Right? The very people that we have most arguments with is when we feel like we don't understand their mindset, right? It doesn't produce empathy, okay? All right? So what she's saying here is that she understands now, having some time to reflect about the illusion of holding on to power. It's so interesting. I had a conversation the other day, and we spoke about the fact that, you know, one of the things that I try to do, if you've ever watched my shows, when I do interviews with people, I want to get them comfortable. I want to get them comfortable. I want to get them as comfortable as possible. And then I want you to and then I'm going to let you slowly lower down the walls of defense, and I'm going to let you spill your heart. right? It's an art to doing it, right? But it's also a power. So, and the power is to say, I'm going to surrender my need to be right. I'm going to surrender my need to control. And I'm going to let you feel like you're in the lead and just usher you in the direction I want you to be ushered into, right? But what she's talking about here is the illusion of power. Where's the illusion of power? Oftentimes we feel like, I'm going to bring Jesus into this. I don't want to preach a message, but I'm going to preach a message. Oftentimes we feel like we have to be on the offensive and we have to lead something. But you see, the funny thing is, when Jesus Christ was going to be crucified, to be killed, the devil thought he had the power. Not realizing that when Jesus surrendered, that was the true power, because now when he died and he resurrected, the rest of us as Christians now can receive the power that he has. There is a lot of power in surrendering. There's a lot of power in submitting. There's a lot of power, okay, in being operating in your natural divine energy, whether it's masculine or feminine. There's a lot of power in doing so, right? But because of pain, her experiences, and she's going to mention some in a second, you're going to be able to relate to what she's saying. You'll see why we don't sometimes operate in those particular divine energies.
I see control equivalent to power. I see women who play the traditional role as weak and the lesser. In my mind, I believe being an independent woman allows me to hold on to the illusion of control.
Now, whatever you think of Brittany, whether you agree with her movements or not, which I don't, at the end of the day, she's talking some real truths here. And she's actually doing some really key reflections. What I do hope for her is that in the coming year and years, that she doesn't operate devoid of her self-awareness. What I mean by that is, now I hope that she's going to bring change and elicit change in the way she moves, right? And she doesn't learn this too late. If she learns this early enough, maybe the next partner she'll be able to have a long-lasting marriage. She'll be more low-key. She'll be able to understand herself, because this is so important. She mentioned here about the independence and it being linked to power and to control, and the fact that she has that. And there is an aspect of control and power from independence, right? But I tell you guys this all the time about relationships. It's about interdependence. In a relationship, we want to be able to depend on one another. Okay, now when we're talking about attachment styles, those who are dismissive, avoidant, oftentimes laud it like we are independent. I'm dismissive, avoidance. I'm telling you this now. We are independent. We are independent. I need nobody. One man's an island. I can do it all myself. And I'm telling you now, as a man, you can't. You need other people. It's a village thing. It's not an individual thing. You live on earth. You need to cooperate with people. You cannot say I'm an independent all the way through. And so when we're talking about Brittany and women in relationships, what has happened due to the environment that they find themselves in, especially black women, the fact that every time that you walk out your house, there's a fear. You could be raped. You could be killed. You could be abused. You could be catcalled. There is some level of abuse that could be coming. And eventually that hardens you up. Because if you don't harden yourself up, you're going to die out there. But when you've built that armor, when you go into a relationship, the struggle now is to release the armor. Then there's more than one reason why this is. One of the reasons why there's a struggle to release the armor is because you like the power that comes with it, which is what she's talking about. The power that comes with being in charge. The power that comes from having the armor means that I'm always in control. No one can do me dirty. But here's the thing about love. It's a risk. And there is potential for arrows to pierce the heart. Number two, this aspect also comes into it, which I'm going to be very honest about. A lot of men don't create safe spaces for the armor to come off. Let me give a biblical example right here. David went to Saul to say, I want to go and kill Goliath. And Saul said, take this armor. And David said, nah, if I take the armor, it ain't going to fit me. When I get out there, I'm not going to do what I need to do. But Saul's like, no, take the armor, go on, do it. And David's like, no. So it's so interesting that at that moment, David didn't want the armor, right? The vulnerability that Saul was seeing, he wasn't seeing. Because there's a power in not wearing the armor in a safe space. Why was it a safe space for David? When he went to fight Goliath, he knew who was backing him. It was a safe space. And in relationships, we need that safe space to release the armor emotionally. So when a man doesn't create a safe space where he says, I'm not going to judge you, I'm not going to condemn you, I'm not going to override you. When you tell me your truth, I'm going to accept it. I'm not trying to change your truth. It is your truth. And I want you to be able to know that when you come to me, it's a non-judgment zone. Many people haven't experienced this, so the armor is always on. Okay? The armor is always on. And so now we've got a situation where she's explaining herself about being in these spaces where she felt like independence was power. Is that you? Then this video's for you.
Let me just pause. This is just a stream of consciousness. I just wrote. I mean, it's. Yeah. I just let it flow. Like, let's just flow with it. I am terrified to let go and free fall. I have opened up to the wrong people, and clinging to the independent bad facade makes me feel safer. When you
pause right there again. What did she just say? Lovely stuff. She's explaining that, you know, she's opened up to people. And this is where a lot of us are. This is where a lot of us are. Let's keep it 100 and true. A lot of us are in this space where it starts with our parents most of the time, right? Our parents are not safe spaces. Let's keep it 100 true. A lot of our parents are not safe spaces. We can't tell them emotional aspects of our lives because they will judge us, they will condemn us, they will say things about us, they will insult us, they will laugh at us. They are not safe spaces, a lot of our parents, all right, for these kind of informations. Then we go out and we try to go across a horizontal plane by going to someone who is a partner, right? That's the next love that we want, right? We want this partner love, right? Brothers and sisters are cool, but they're not the husband, right? They're not the next best thing that could be close to you, right? So now you're looking for this person that will understand you and that will love you for you, right? Cool. So now you start opening up in these relationships, right? And every time you do, they hurt you. Because they're also toxic and they're also broken and they don't understand safe spaces and they're triggered and their natural reaction now is to hurt you. So now when you get into other further relationships in the future, you become super protective. This is the masculine energy, right? The masculine energy is concerned with protecting the people within the confinements of that masculine energy. Now, when you're carrying that masculine energy, you start carrying it in a way at the wrong time and season. You use it to protect yourself. Now, another man that comes in will be like, "Oh, she's hard. She ain't really feminine." Da, 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 da. Why? Because you've put a wall up. Why? Because you're scared to open up. Because you have been hurt, and that's fair enough. But it's time to heal. And the reason why it's time to heal is because now when you begin to heal, you'll be able to make judgments about people who are going to be good for you, who are going to be safe spaces. A lot of us did not have the knowledge or the understanding or the wisdom. We had to learn through experience, tasting different fruits out there to know which one we liked. And unfortunately, as we tasted different fruits to find out which one we liked or which one worked for us, we got hurt in the process. And that made us fearful. We had PTSD from relationships. And now we're scared to enter into relationships, or we're scared to be open in those relationships because we don't want the same thing to happen again. Right? Independent.
You've had to do everything on your own. Who needs anyone? Who needs a man? Men are a liability. Men have hurt and betrayed me. My rough exterior is for my protection. You see me breathing as I'm just...
I don't know if you heard what she said. I'm sure you did. I don't want to keep saying like I'm preaching. She said, obviously, when you've had to do it all on your own. There are so many women out there, especially black women, I want to talk to you specifically, who are doing this on their own. They put themselves through college. They've put themselves through school. They've put themselves through university. All right, they had to find their own job. They've had to move from a house to another house by themselves. They've had to buy their own furniture. There has never been a father that's been around that woman to help take off the load. They've been in single family households. They've been in with households with fathers and mothers. The father didn't care enough to be able to do those things for her. The father expected independence from early. And there was not a lot of protection from that father figure, right? So now she's out here on them streets doing it herself, learning from experiences. And what she realizes, like any individual human being, is that she has some level of power. Where does that power lie? It lies in the system that gives her power. What system are we talking about? Patriarchy. And in patriarchy, and I don't know, not even just patriarchy, in how men and women operate, men look for beauty in women. And then the women who are beautiful realize, aha, finally, I have power. And what do they do with that power? Some use it for good. Some use it for bad. Okay? She's currently, or was currently, dating a boy that when she started knowing him was 19 and she was 26. She was 7 years his senior. Right? Now, if a man did this, we'd all be up in arms because we understand power dynamics. Why? Because the level of experience that woman or man will carry being in a position where they're much older. We had the same thing with August Alsina and, Jada Pinkett Smith, right? So in this case, it's not illegal. It's just a moral issue, right? And this has been, I believe she took advantage of this young man in the sense of knowing that she had experience over him. He didn't know the game. She didn't do this with her. She tried to do this with her peers, and the peers didn't have it. Ben Simmons did not have it. Kaepernick did not have it. The other people that were there, Sexter, Lefter, did not give her the baby, didn't have it. But this young man did. Why? Because he was fresh to the game. Naivete. And without good, proper counsel. Right?
Just let it go. There you go. Get it out. My rough exterior scares people away. And that's what I want. Because being alone is easier than having to open up. I saw my mom.
How many of you women, specifically I'm talking to women today, how many of you are scared to be real with themselves? Like, I want to go back to what she just said, just a little bit in there, just a little bit. Listen to this again.
Because being alone is easier than having to open up.
The difficulty in relationships is being able to open up oneself. And I want to be very frank and honest. I've dealt with women, and I believe that there are women who are closed off, but I think they are looking for safe spaces. And then there are Tasmanian devils, okay? Let's just keep it 100. Just Tasmanian devils who women out here who, bruv, it don't matter what safe space you give them, they're going to Tasmanian the ting up, yeah? They're going to Tasmanian the ting up, right? Okay? Move with a frass mentality, right? And the reason why is because of brokenness. The same reason why I talk about men who move mad, brokenness. Which is why I talk about the fact that when we use sex, sometimes it comes out of a place of brokenness. It's not because you like sex, it's because you're broken oftentimes, right? Listen, don't get twisted. Sex is good and it's amazing. We love it. But sometimes it's utilized as a weapon because we're broken, okay? But what she's explaining here, right here, there, is the fact that being vulnerable is much more harder than being on your own, okay? The trouble is this. People don't stay on their own. Especially if you're a pretty girl, it's going to be very hard for you to stay on your own because there are always going to be suitors. And there's always that opportunity now to say, hey, I think things might change. Or there's opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to get them back for what they did to me.
I saw my mom get mistreated by men constantly. And I never wanted to be like that. I think if I'm independent in every area of my life, it increases my value as a woman, being able to provide. That's what I have believed. I have believed that money gives me power and power gives me control. I have abused my power by attempting to control people with what I'm able to do for them financially. If I can do things for you that you are unable to do for yourself, that makes me powerful.
Some of the stuff she's admitting is so just beautiful because now you're hearing it from the actual horse's mouth. You know what I mean? Direct that these thoughts are happening. You know, some of you, we talk about build a man up, build a bear man. Some of you are building a bear men because of this power dynamic. It's literal power. It's not because you're nice, because of power. And this is why I keep telling the ladies specifically, I don't want to see you do that, right? Because that's going to draw you down a lane and you're going to create a Frankenstein and you find yourself being killed by that Frankenstein. And that's even more painful, being rejected by your own creation. Let me just bring it to the Bible. The Bible says that Christ came onto his own and his own rejected him. And it was painful to do so when they did that. In fact, his own actually killed him. So don't think that the God that we serve doesn't know that you're facing what you're facing. Some of you are literally trying to build a man because of power and control, because of what you've experienced in the past. It's time to heal. Listen, grab me. Look at my email down below. In fact, let's just it. Grab my email down below. If you're in need of coaching around this stuff, because this is the stuff that I do. We go into the past and we then begin to rectify the future. We can't do the present that you're in right now and just say this is what it is. No, we need to go into the past, find out what your trauma is, and let's begin to talk about that. Let's begin to rectify that. Let's begin to heal that, and let's get you to this present point and in the future to be operating in a better way. There's hope. There is hope. Hit me up on my email, littleblackbird91@gmail.com. Let's start healing. You know what I'm saying? Let's not play. Man them too. If you're listening to this as well, let's start healing. Because many of you are independent beyond anything, and it's because of what you've experienced. Some of you hate women. Listen, because of what you've experienced. Come, let's talk. Let's begin the healing. Let's no play. All right, let's continue this on, man.
And with that power gives me more control. And that control increases my value. Nobody can hurt me if I hold on to this power.
Boss.
My first relationship was abusive on all levels.
I want to pause there because I think this is something that we can, and it'll be my last point, and we can do a part 2 of this video because I think it's really powerful, the things that she says in the next 10 minutes or so. She spoke about obviously a relationship where she had been abused and gone through something really, really tough. That's all levels she felt this abuse, right? And the thing about trauma in this case is a lot of people don't realize they're carrying PTSD from the trauma. They know they've been impacted, but they don't recognize the symptoms. And this is a revelation that's been coming to me of late that I believe God has been talking to me. Some of you are suffering through depression. Some of you are suffering body ailments. Some of you are suffering mentally. You're suffering through suicidal thoughts. And a lot of times, these things are issues that are in the past that are presenting itself in the future now, or the present now. And what's happening is we're not aware because we're in a we've lived life where our body tells us we're in pain and we feel pain. And we know that we need to go to the doctor because we feel an acute, different type of sharp pain. I can't move, I can't walk. We have yet to recognize when the mental faculties and the mental mind is beginning to tell us we're in pain. We don't recognize it until symptoms are full blown. When people are breaking down, depression, suicide, schizophrenia, all this kind of thing, mental illness that come along. We don't recognize it until the person's at the very tip of the edge. And I definitely believe a lot of people who are suffering out there right now, they're mentally on edge right now, right? They're almost on a tipping point. If you're there, a lot of you, not all of you, I can't say all of you, some of you it's medical. A lot of you are dealing with past issues you haven't addressed yet. There are roots to what you're facing right now. Some might say generational curses. Okay, let's deal with it, but there's still a root we meant to deal with that you per se have to look at and uproot. There are weeds in the garden of your mind that need to be uprooted because they're suffocating you. There are vines that are beginning to weave their way through your mind and synapses that are speaking different languages and different words and different images to you that are beginning to bring confusion into your life. What this young woman has gone through, this abuse that she's gone through in a relationship, many women are going through or have gone through, whether it was a boyfriend or whether it was a dad, or whether it's a mom. They suffer some type of abuse to where they are now. This is not me giving her a pass. This is me trying to explain to anybody who isn't her, who I shouldn't say isn't her, it's to her as well. It's to anybody who who is going through something like this, it is time for healing. Your body is telling you, your mind is telling you, we are at breaking point. This is why you're feeling like you're on edge. This is why relationships keep breaking down. This is why you're low self-esteem. There is something that's happened in your past that you must address. The door to your past has to be open at some point. Otherwise, the body is the body is seeping and leaking poison into you. The Bible lets us know the tongue is like poison. The things that people have said have begun to take hold of the mind, and they eventually take hold of the body. And they do this because poison takes time to kill. And sometimes you're carrying this poison around for a very long time. You don't even realize. And then one day you start breaking down. This is where she's at. The poison that she has been ingesting for the last few years of her life, or the early years of her life, have now brought her to this point where she's a quarter of a century old. 25, I think, at this point. 26, 25. Writing pages upon pages of her heart and actually what she feels. It is time to heal, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, if you want to shout me, listen, I'm still open. Hit us up on littleblackbird91gmail.com. This is the kind of stuff we coach. I'm not just going to listen to you and be like, all right, that's it. No, we're going to go, okay, I've heard you now. Here are the links. See that past event? It's affecting this point here. That's what we do. We point out and then we link it. And then we start providing the solutions to get you out of that space. All right? So listen, I'm going to leave it there. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Maybe we'll do a part 2, but please do like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. And if you do need coaching, please do head us up on littleblackbird91.gmail.com. We are here to serve. It's not free though, but we're here to serve. You know what I'm saying?
Little Blackbird, you know what time